Today we are going to be doing some National 5 Drama written exam revision by working through section 1 of the 2019 past paper together. You might want to have a copy of it in front of you so you can follow along, writing your own answers as you go. In this first section of the paper, you answer a series of questions reflecting on a drama that you have already been involved in, using correct drama vocabulary throughout. You can write about a performance you've taken part in during class time or your final exam performance. This is what the opening page of your exam paper looks like. You will see this option at the top of your exam paper, and you should tick the role that you intend to write about in this section of the exam paper. For the purpose of this revision video, the example answers will be based on a performance of Little Red Riding Hood so that you can recognise the story and the characters being spoken about. I'll be writing answers from a perspective of an actor. Let's take a look at the first question. Question 1A. Describe the scene from your drama which you found the most difficult when carrying out your role for 2 marks. When you are being asked to describe in a question, you're being asked to detail the features of the subject of the question. For this specific question, you are asked to fully describe the scene that you found the most difficult to carry out in your drama. It is important to remember that it's not asking you why you found this scene difficult, just a detailed description of the scene itself. You should choose a scene in your drama that you have plenty to write about. Give the examiner a description of where the scene takes place, who's involved in the scene, and the actual action that takes place during the scene. If you're speaking about characters in the drama, try and mention them by their character name rather than just naming them Actor 1 or Person 1, as this can be quite confusing to keep a track of for both you and the examiner marking your paper. The SQA marking scheme states that for 2 marks, the candidate must have fully described the scene which they find the most difficult when carrying out their role, and for just 1 mark, the candidate has given a simple or basic description of the scene which they find the most difficult when carrying out their role. For the model answer based on Little Red Riding Hood, I've written, the scene I found the most difficult was when Little Red Riding Hood discovers that her granny is really the big bad wolf. The wolf is sitting in bed in disguise, wearing Granny's clothes, and Little Red Riding Hood is questioning him, confused about his appearance. The wolf gets more and more frustrated with Red's questions and finally shouts that he's going to eat her, giving her a fright. This description fully describes the scene, so it would gain the 2 marks available in the exam. The next part of this question says, for 1B, give 2 reasons why you found this scene the most difficult for 2 marks. For this question, you're being asked to now describe why you found this scene difficult. You need 2 different reasons to gain those 2 marks. The answers need to be substantial and describe the reason that you found it challenging, not just, I just did, or it was difficult because it was boring, because these aren't very descriptive. The SQA marking scheme states that 1 mark is given for each valid reason given by the candidate. For this model answer, I've written, I found this scene difficult for 2 reasons. Firstly, I had to use a hunched over posture and keep my head down to play the wolf pretending to be the older granny. Due to this, I couldn't see the actor playing Little Red Riding Hood, which made visual cues difficult to pick up on. Secondly, I had to use a squeaky, high-pitched voice to pretend to be Granny, and this was challenging to maintain throughout the length of the scene. This answer gives 2 reasons why the scene was difficult, using the correct vocab, and it would gain 2 marks available in the exam. The next question in the paper says, number 2, describe 2 activities you carried out to prepare for the performance for 4 marks. For this question, you should be describing in detail 2 activities you did to prepare and how it helped you in your performance. These should relate to the role that you've picked at the start of the section, so for me it would be an actor. The SQA marking scheme says that you might want to refer to a read-through of the script, the rehearsal process or notes during rehearsals, research, design or performance tasks such as diagrams, sketches, rigging, focusing lanterns, applying practice makeup, sewing costumes, etc., or characterisation techniques such as hot seating, writing and roll, and thought tracking. And of course, any other appropriate activity in your answer. For the model answer, I've written, I took part in writing and roll where I wrote a diary entry from the wolf's perspective, imagining that the forest he lived in had been torn down to make way for more houses. This meant that the wolf couldn't hunt as he used to anymore and was going hungry. Granny's house was the first one built, so I decided that this was the motivation for the wolf trying to eat Granny as he wanted revenge. I also took part in hot seating, where the other actors in my group acted as reporters, questioning the wolf about the houses being built, and I had to answer questions in role. Through this, I discovered that the wolf felt the community didn't care about him and had very little sympathy that his home was being destroyed, leading him to go to extreme measures to get attention, such as eating Granny. I've fully described the characterisation activities carried out, so this would gain the 4 marks available in the exam. The next question is 3. Evaluate the effectiveness of your individual contribution to the final performance. If you were an actor, you should include comments on your performance concepts, or if you were in a production role, you should include comments on your design concepts for 4 marks. For this question, you should be evaluating your own contribution to the performance, not a group contribution. Try and tell the examiner what you did well or didn't and why this was the case. You need 2 separate comments in order to gain the full 4 marks. The SQA marking scheme states that the marks won't be awarded if the candidate makes a general evaluation about the group's performance, and marks should not be awarded for mere storytelling or general descriptive comments. For this model answer, I've written, I used movement to show a contrast between the wolf when he was himself compared to when the wolf was pretending to be Granny. I changed from using an upright, powerful posture to a hunched over, weaker posture, as well as changing my hands from the gesture of imitating claws to the gesture of shaking my hands like a frail old lady. This was effective because it helped the audience see a clear difference between the 2 roles the wolf played in the drama. I also used voice effectively. When the wolf breaks into Granny's house, I used an aggressive tone of voice with a loud, shouting volume. This was effective as it created a tense and scary atmosphere for the audience as they could imagine themselves in Granny's shoes. As this answer has given a full and detailed evaluation of the individual contribution to the final performance and its effectiveness, it would gain the full 4 marks available in the exam. The next question is 4A. Consider the work of one other drama student during the rehearsal process for a performance. Evaluate their contribution to the rehearsal process for 4 marks. For this question, you should be evaluating, that means effective or ineffective, another person in the class. You should tell the examiner what was successful or unsuccessful about their rehearsal process. This shouldn't be a comment about the overall group, but rather a comment on your chosen person's specific contribution to the performance. So for example, what did they do to help the group? Did they direct a scene? Did they take part in any characterisation techniques? Remember, this question is not a comment on their final performance, but their process, their rehearsals to get there. You need 2 separate comments in order to gain the full 4 marks. For this model answer, I've written, during rehearsals, Sia, who played Little Red Riding Hood, suggested that we use the convention of slow motion to show the scene where the woodcutter is attacking the wolf in order to save Granny. Her contribution was effective as it heightened the tension in the scene for the audience by drawing out the action and made the scene more controlled and therefore safer for the actors involved. Sia also provided effective contributions in the form of peer feedback. During the scenes where Sia was not acting, she would watch the rehearsals, take notes, and then give us advice on what we could improve on. In particular, she watched my monologue of the wolf recalling what his life had been like before the forest was destroyed, and suggested that it should be delivered directly to the audience as if they were news reporters to make them feel more involved in the performance. As this answer has given a full and detailed evaluation of one other drama student's contribution to the rehearsal process for a performance, it would gain the 4 marks available in the exam. The final question in this section is 4B. Consider the final performance of a drama student that you identified in A, so it's got to be the same person. Evaluate the effectiveness of their contribution to the final performance. If they were an actor, you should include comments on their performance concepts, or if they were in a production role, you should include comments on their design concepts for 4 marks. This question is similar to the last one, and you should evaluate the same person from the first part of this question. You should tell the examiner what was successful or what was unsuccessful about their final performance. This should not be a general comment about the overall group, but rather a comment about their specific contribution to the performance. Tell us what they did well and why this made it effective or ineffective. You need 2 separate comments in order to gain the full 4 marks. For the model answer, I've written, during the pivotal scene where Little Red Riding Hood realises the wolf is disguised as her granny, Sia used her voice effectively by using a sudden loud volume to shout, a high-pitched scream, and then poor fluency strutting over her words to show the character's fear. This choice not only deepened the audience understanding of Red's emotional state, but also heightened the tension in the scene. Furthermore, Sia used movement effectively in order to show her character was younger than everyone else on the stage. She used exaggerated, energetic gestures when speaking, an upright, confident posture, and she moved around the space by skipping. This was effective as the audience could instantly tell that she was a younger girl compared to the adults in the performance. As this answer has given a full and detailed evaluation of their contribution to the final performance, it would gain the 4 marks available in the exam. Now that we've gone through section 1 of the 2019 National 5 Drama past paper, you should try and complete the section yourself. Remember, you can access the marking scheme on the SQA website to make sure that you are on the right track with your answers. Finally, remember to use correct vocabulary to gain marks throughout the exam. Good luck!